Thus, sign that fate was shifting came not with thunder or fire, but with silence. A silence so deep it settled over the Pride Lands like a held breath, as if the world itself sensed that something irreversible had begun. Two hearts had found each other where they were never meant to meet. And from that single moment, the future of the Pride Lands quietly started to change. Hughes born beneath Pride Rock, where destiny was not a question, but a command. From his earliest days, the land shaped him into what it expected him to become. He learned to roar before he learned to doubt, to lead before he learned to dream. Every lesson echoed the same truth. A king belongs to the Pride Lands, not to himself. Thor. Love was permitted only when it served the pride, only when it strengthened power, never when it challenged it. He accepted this truth because it was all he had ever known. She came from beyond the borders, from lands spoken of in hushed voices and wary glances. Her world had no thrones, no ancient stones carved with lore. Survival was her teacher, loss her companion. She learned to trust instincts instead of rules, courage instead of permission. Her eyes carried stories of exile and endurance, and yet her spirit burned bright, unbroken by the hardships that shaped her. Their first encounter was cautious, almost ritualistic. Two lions standing at the edge of the known world, each sensing the danger in the other, yet unable to turn away. The wind moved through the grass between them, and for a moment, the Pride Lands felt smaller, quieter, more honest than it ever had before. What passed between them was not spoken, but it was understood. They met again, and then again, each meeting more difficult to resist. With her, he felt something the throne had never given him: freedom. He was no longer a future king, only a lion allowed to question, to laugh, to feel. With him, she felt more than a survivor. She felt chosen, seen beyond her scars and struggles. Love grew, not as a fantasy, but as a defiance, rooted in truth and strengthened by risk. The Pride Lands noticed the change long before it was named. Elders whispered of imbalance. Warriors watched with sharpened eyes. A king whose heart wandered was a danger to order. When the council finally confronted him, their voices were heavy with history and fear. They spoke of the circle of life, of past wars ignited by emotion, of rulers who lost kingdoms by choosing the heart over duty. They demanded obedience, not understanding. She faced judgment too. Pride reminded her of pain caused by Pride Lands' decisions, of lives lost because of distant thrones and careless commands. They accused her of forgetting suffering in the comfort of affection. Show tried to explain that he questioned the very system that had hurt them all, but fear speaks louder than hope. Still, neither of them could walk away. The night loves stepped into the open. The sky burned with deep red and gold. There were no promises of safety, only truth. Love was no longer hidden in shadows or silence. It stood openly against tradition, and tradition answered with force. Borders closed. Patrols doubled, tightened. The Pride Lands tightened their grip, calling it protection. The first clash was small, almost accidental, but blood touched the soil. The land remembered. Fear spread faster than truth, and love became the easiest thing to blame. War crept in, wearing the mask of duty. The Pride Lands marched beneath banners of honor and unity. Outsiders gathered in desperation, fighting not for conquest, but survival. Each side told itself the same lie, that violence was necessary, that the other was the cause. The war no longer belonged to reason. It belonged to fear. He was forced into command, standing before warriors who trusted him with their lives. Every order weighed heavily on his chest. Each battle pulled him further from the lion he was when he stood beside her in quiet grasslands. He told himself he could control the damage, that he could end the conflict quickly. War does not listen to intentions. she became a symbol she never chose to be. To the Pride Lands, she was the reason for bloodshed, her name spoken with anger and dread. To her people, she was hope, proof that even kings could choose differently. Love stripped her of anonymity and turned her heart into a battlefield others fought over. The Pride Lands burned. Restlands turned to ash. Rivers carried sorrow instead of reflection. Cubs learned the sound of war before lullabies. Victory tasted empty. Defeat tasted the same. With every fallen lion, the land itself seemed to mourn. They met again amid ruins and smoke. Love still burned between them, but now it carried guilt and responsibility. Today, in that moment, they understood the truth they had been avoiding. The war no longer belonged to them alone. It had grown into something larger, fueled by pride, fear, and refusal to change. When the council demanded a final assault, something inside him shattered. He saw the future clearly. Endless cycles of violence justified by tradition. Obedience would mean destroying everything a true king should protect. In that moment, he chose love over fear. He turned against the Pride Lands, not with hatred, but resolve. His roar echoed across the battlefield, not in rage, but defiance. Warriors froze, stunned by the sight of one of their own standing against the system that raised him. He fought fiercely, shielding lives where he could, standing between death and those who had once been enemies. She fought beside him, back to back, their trust forged in fire guiding every movement. The battlefield dissolved into chaos. Loyalties shattered, lines vanished. Flame and grief thundered beneath a sky that seemed to mourn with the land. When silence finally fell, the Pride Lands were scarred beyond recognition. The war ended, not in victory, but in exhaustion. He lived, but the crown did not. Exile followed, not as punishment, but necessity. A kingdom that feared love could not be led by a king who fought for it. She survived too, carrying both loss and hope in equal measure. Together, they left the Pride Lands behind, not as fugitives, but as proof that love could challenge even the strongest traditions, too. Their story did not end in rule or conquest, but in change. The Pride Lands remembered them not as traitors or heroes, but as the ones whose love reshaped fate itself. Generations later, the wind still carried their story across the savannah. It whispered of two hearts that refused to bow to fear, of a love that challenged power, and of how that love changed the fate of the Pride Lands forever.